Welcome to the pilot episode of They Make Your Games, where we have a look at the people behind your favorite hobby. In this inaugural episode, we take a look at the Dutch Game Garden Network Lunch, where we meet several fantastic people like... So, I'm at the Dutch Game Garden Network Lunch with...
Jesse,
Nicolas Perez,
Corné Wilms,
Baiba,
Dylan Smith,
Sarina,
Max Davidson.
The Dutch Game Garden is an incubator for the Dutch games industry. People who want to start a studio can hire an office there for a favorable rate. But the Dutch Game Garden also organizes events. Their biggest event is Indigo, which I mentioned in many of my previous videos, and is organized once a year. Every month, the Dutch Game Garden organizes the Network Lunch. This is a small, 2-hour event in their office lobby and meant for game developers of every level of professionalism to connect and learn. I'm Oswald, I'm a game developer, but I also interview game developers for a series I'm doing on YouTube. If you want to be interviewed, please come around and say hi. It starts off with announcements and a shout-out, and afterwards you can network and take a look at showcases by budding developers. What game are you working on?
Well, I'm currently working on further developing a game I made called You Are Dead Now, which was a project I made last year. It is a fourth wall breaking meta game that begins as a platformer, but then it evolves into different genres and different styles as it goes on. Each time with each level, you're becoming something else or playing as something else. From different characters in the game to elements of the UI or just abstract concepts.
Godthorn still.
Yeah.
We're still in early access. We're doing release in a bit more than a year, so yeah.
Yeah, that works.
The most recent game I worked on is more of an educational project. It was using XR to make cultural heritage more engaging. So instead of just having a huge wall of text next to an object that you can ask questions about it, so you can pick up an object, talk about it, and then get answers from an AI. And then that way, learn more about the object in a more engaging, interactive way than just reading text or have someone tell you what it is.
Godsworn, so that's out in early access. It's an RTS about mythology and medieval crusades.
currently, and not any. I would like to get into working on games. I've been trying to get into developing games.
But you were thinking of a game.
I was thinking of working on games, yes.
Right now, the game is not in production yet. It's still a concept. And the reason why I'm promoting and networking now is because first I had to do a lot of legal stuff, documenting everything. And now I'm networking to find a team or a company who wants to collaborate on creating this RPG game. And it would be inspired by games like Borderlands, Saints Row, Fable. I'm a very big fan of those kinds of games. So.
I work on a game called Gaia, which is a 2D pixel art platformer about my daughter, Greek mythology, and pollution.
Dark Side of the Moon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What does the game do?
So you're stranded. You play as a duck, and your ship is stranded, and you crash into this biome of stone people who are really into disco music, and you party crash the party, and you need to fix up their party, and they will repair your ship so you can go back to Earth.
Any tip van de sluier?
There's this story that I've been thinking of that I would like to create, but I don't have the developing skills to do that by myself. It's a sort of like indie game where you go and explore the world as like you're a father on his way to his family.
Yeah.
And so you switch between the two perspectives.
So that's why you're here at the Dutch Game Garden Network Lunch, right?
Yeah, to sort of talk with other people, see what they're working on.
What game do you play at the moment?
For me, probably still Beat Saber. Something that just stays with me and just...
So you've got those games.
Yeah. It's just always fun to do and just easy to get into.
I really love playing indie games. I've been playing a lot of Oxenfree. I really like narrative games, so Oxenfree, Night in the Woods, stuff like that.
I play RPGs and strategy games. So, yeah.
Europa Universalis, if you know it. About a couple of 1,000 hours.
Yeah, so you make what you love.
Kinda, that's more of a grand strategy. We're making more like real-time strategy. So it's more like Warcraft-ish. And the other one is more like a map.
Well, I mostly play indie games. That's my main thing. I like games that are experimental and creative and unique. Yeah, that's also why I like making games that are experimental and unique as well.
Yeah, obviously Borderlands, Saints Row, Sunset Overdrive, Fable, Skyrim, that kind of games.
What games do you play?
I play basically everything that I like. I usually play indie games. I'm one of those people who thinks that if you are doing something for the indie community, you also should support other indie games. So I do that all the time. I have one stream a month. I do just indie games. I just did Celeste for the first time, actually, which is tough as nails. I'm not the greatest gamer in the world, so usually I die a lot of times. So I did also this time.
I play a lot of shooters, so it's completely different of the game that I'm making.
Sounds familiar.
But I also play a short hike and a little gator game to get familiar with the cozy and the non-hostile games, because I do feel that there should be less hostile games in general.
The Network Lunch is an invaluable resource to the Dutch games industry, if only for just exchanging knowledge. There's so much to learn from just making a game that it's worth to share with others. Knowledge like...
Do you have any advice for new game developers?
Just do it. Nothing is stopping you. Just you are stopping you. Just don't be afraid. You can do it. I mean, I only have 2 to 3 hours a week, and I'm still doing it.
Like David Bowie once said, when you feel uncomfortable, that's the right place you want to be. If you feel comfortable, you're not going to grow as an artist. So I got very inspired by that to dare to do all kinds of things instead of only sticking to my comfort zone and just trying to experiment and be multidisciplinary. So that's just go out of your comfort zone.
The best advice is network. Go out, don't stay in your room, go to events, talk to people, because you never know who you're gonna meet and connect with, and then in the future they can help you with a job. I've heard stories of people getting jobs in the industry because they've connected with somebody in the past. So connecting, also have something ready, also always like show your work, like have something ready to show. And that's the best advice I can give.
I think start with making small games, and game jams are a great way to do that. I've done, I think, over 20 game jams at this point, so that's a great way to learn.
For me, that would probably be to reach a bit outside of your comfort zone. So, of course, you know what you can already do, but it's easy to stick to that and not grow further. So it's really good if you go a little bit further than you're used to. So if you're something like, I might know how this works, but I'm not fully sure, to just go for it and see if it works and if it sticks, and just go to that.
I think the most important thing is to just go ahead and try.
Yeah.
If you're thinking of it, you're not doing it, and I think you learn the most by doing things. So go ahead and do it.
Maybe marketing-wise, what would be the best advice for game devs?
I think people underestimate the power of social media. You can really utilize social media to get to your audience, even if you're just a niche indie game that maybe doesn't have a broad reach. Still, reaching your audience through social media is super important for you to just get out there and get known.
Well, my advice is, as soon as you have even something even slightly workable, start working on it. If you keep just planning an idea and you keep developing it forever without ever actually starting work on it, you will never work on it. Like once you actually start working on a game, generally it's a lot easier to continue developing it and continue designing it.
Don't make an RTS as your first project.
If you are a budding game developer and want to attend the Network Lunch, you can! But not for long, or maybe not at all, depending on when you're watching this video. After 17 years of being the biggest mainstay of the Dutch games industry, the Dutch Game Garden will close its doors in January 2025. It was entirely funded with government subsidies, and for many reasons that I will not get into here, they could not secure enough funding to continue. Some of its activities will be picked up by other organizations, but this was quite the blow for the Dutch games industry. So this is quite the bombshell to end on for a pilot episode, but in my defense, the closure was announced 2 days after recording. I'd love to end on a more positive note, but right now everything is uncertain. There's definitely a need for the Dutch Game Garden, so maybe something like it will appear again in the future. For now, I hope this video will be a nice representation of what once was. They Make Your Games is a series aiming to close the gap between gamers and game devs. If you want to support the cause, please like and subscribe. I want to thank everyone I interviewed and a very special thanks to everyone at the Dutch Game Garden. It was a pleasure to work with you and thank you for the 17 years.